In this last video, we're going to talk about the Peloponnesian War. The end of the Persian Wars left Athens and Sparta as by far the most powerful cities in Greece, but they were already suspicious of one another. The Athenians wished to continue naval-based war against Persia and to expand their trading influence into Asia. The Spartans were suspicious of the Athenians becoming too powerful and, as always, did not want to fight so far from home, and so they withdrew from the alliance with Athens. Athens responded by organizing a league of cities to fight against the Persians and free the Ionian cities on the west coast of Anatolia. This league was called the Delian League. The Delian League was initially exceptionally successful. They drove the Persians out of the northern Aegean Sea, and they destroyed hundreds of Persian ships in battle regularly. As the power of the Delian League increased, however, the Athenians began to treat members of the League as subjects of an Athenian empire rather than allies. So the Athenians are now becoming the evil empire that they had portrayed the Persians as earlier. So cities were forced to pay contributions to the Delian League. It wasn't a league or an alliance you could choose to opt into. These monies were used to pay the Athenian government salaries as well as paying for the ships. And when one city tried to resign from the league, it was captured and destroyed. Meanwhile, the Spartans were becoming increasingly involved in mainland affairs, and tensions between Sparta and Athens increased. Sparta developed its own league of alliance called the Peloponnesian League. And in 432, these two leagues declared war on one another, beginning the Peloponnesian War, the most destructive war in Greek history, and now considered an early model of a world war where you have two main protagonists and then their allies fighting across the whole region, while Persia waited in the wings for a chance to regain its territories. The first phase of the war is called the Archidanian War. Spartan strategy, led by their king Archidamus, was a plan to lead the Spartan army into Athenian territory and to destroy its crops each year. Pericles, the leader of the Athenians, planned to withdraw to Athens, shelter in the city, and not take on the mighty Spartan army, and survive on Athenian trade, and use sea power to raid the coasts of Sparta in Spartan territory. So neither side was actually trying to win the war, both sides were just trying to hurt one another. And so the war kind of drags on. Neither side really wants this war, but they both kind of got dragged into it. Then the plague struck Athens and Pericles died. The successor was a man named Cleon, who felt compelled to take more drastic campaigns. The Athenians were dying of plague in the city, and the Spartans had the upper hand. In 425, however, the Athenians captured a Spartan army and forced it to surrender, the first time this has ever happened in its history, under the leadership of an effective general and politician named Demosthenes. Sparta was now on the defensive, but in 424, the Spartans were able to kill Cleon and seize control of the Athenian silver mines and timber woods. And so Sparta was saved by the army that conducted these campaigns, who was actually mostly made up of Helots. By 421, both sides wanted peace. Spartans were running out of troops. The Athenians were weary of seeing their crops destroyed. And so peace was agreed on the status quo. 11 years of war for no substantial change. And this very much captures the futility of the Peloponnesian War. Now you're going to want to move on to the next slide. There followed a period of Cold War between Athens and Sparta, before the Athenians, led by a man named Alcibiades, attempted to expand Athenian power further west and to seize Sicily and the east coast of Italy, where there were a number of Greek colonies. And so this plan goes ahead, but Alcibiades was falsely accused of a crime in the lead up to the campaign and fled from Athens to Sparta. And now we start to see Athens' Achilles heel. And that's going to be constant infighting, even paranoia among the different groups that's going to lead to Athens basically destroying itself. Despite the loss of Alcibiades, the Athenians are still almost successful. Syracuse and the Greeks based in Italy gradually ground down their attack, and in the end, they were surprised, disastrously defeated, Demosthenes and the other leader of the army were both killed. 200 ships, 30,000 sailors, 10,000 hoplites were all lost, and this was a devastating blow for Athenian prestige and Athenian ability to wage war, and the Spartans immediately declared war and established forts to cut off Athenian access to silver mines and harass their agriculture. Furthermore, the Spartans even went so far as to make an alliance with the Persians, to provide them with money for ships, and in order to build a navy that they could use to completely defeat Athens. And the price of that was to allow the Persians to gain control of Ionia. And so the Spartans have totally moved away from any kind of unified Greek resistance to the Persians, but they're working with the Persians to help themselves become dominant over Greece. The Athenians continued to fight on. They fought on for another 8 years, further exhausting both the Athenians and the Spartans, but eventually the Spartans were able to defeat Athens. They entered the city. The Athenians were forced to destroy their fortifications, renounce their empire, and destroy all but 12 of their ships. Spartans also forced the Athenians to destroy their democracy and become an oligarchy. And so this was the conclusion of the war, that the Athenians' democracy, which had been one of their proudest institutions, had led to infighting, poor strategic decisions, and ultimately their defeat and occupation. The Spartans, whose military prowess had been so central to defeating the Persians, had led them, consumed with a desire for glory, to make an alliance with the Persians against the Athenians and against other Greeks. The end result of this war is that both of these mighty city-states are exhausted, and it means that this will lead to a new chapter in the history of ancient Greece.